What gets your blood flowing? What gets you excited? What gets you up in the morning? What do you look forward to? What makes your day worthwhile? That's what I'm talking about when I say the juice. I'm not talking about Mr. Simpson. Met a guy a couple of years ago while I was on my morning walk. Occasionally somebody will stop in their car and have a word or two with you. And this guy stopped. His name was Nick. Stopped and introduced himself and chatted for a couple of minutes. And he was one of these guys that you just have an immediate rapport with. One of these guys you know that you could stand there and talk for an hour or more without any problem. He's just that kind of personality. And I'd see him every once in a while on the walk. He'd be driving by. Come to find out on one of our talks that he went to the gym every morning. He and his dog went to the gym. And he drove a kind of a nondescript car. I don't even know what kind it was. Nothing that would catch your eye. Until one day he came by and he was in a BMW convertible. And he stopped, and of course we had words about that. But that was Nick. He saw this BMW, wanted it, and he had it. Talked to him another time, and he told me about his wife having just bought tickets for a Bruce Springsteen concert in Italy. And they were going to see Bruce Springsteen. They were going to go to Italy and see Bruce Springsteen at Circus Maximus. Now, how cool is that? And not too long ago, I met Nick on the road on one of my walks, and he told me that he and his wife were moving. They were selling their house and moving to Spain, a little town south of Barcelona, to live. We talked about that a little bit, and he told me that Murphy just didn't have enough juice for him. And I knew exactly what he meant when he said it. The juice is different for different people. You know, obviously, there wasn't enough juice in Murphy for Nick and his wife. There's certainly enough here for Kathy and I, at least right now. I mean, we've got our motorcycles and we've got the mountains that we love. We love just looking at the mountains. That's to us, that's juice in itself. And we're in a spot here in western North Carolina that's very close to Tennessee and very close to Georgia, which are both in this area are both beautiful places to be. There's plenty to do, lots to see, plenty of juice for us. Something Murphy doesn't have, or this area doesn't have, is nightlife. If nightlife is your juice, then Murphy is not the place for you. I mean, we've got the casino, but that's the casino. They don't have entertainment other than gambling. That that's no kind of juice for me. It is for a lot of people, but it's not for me, not for Kathy. So, now personally, my juice has changed over the years. What gives me my juice is, you know, different than it used to be. I used to get juiced from work. I loved my job. I looked forward to going to work. I looked forward to a vacation ending so I could get back to work. I know that sounds crazy, but that's the way it was. So I got plenty of juice from work. And when I left work, I had my fishing and I had my boat. I took up scuba diving. I had my homesteading adventure in the UP. And I've got my motorcycle. You know, that's plenty of juice for me. But, you know, like I said, it's changed over the years. So I'm curious, what's your personal juice? What gets you up in the morning, gets you excited? What's your stimulation? Leave it down in the comments. I'd love to hear what different people, what gets them going, what gets their juices flowing. And relationships can provide juice, especially new relationships. A new relationship, sometimes that's where all your juice comes from in a new relationship, especially if you're younger. But that kind of juice wanes a little bit over time, changes, you know, like I was talking about earlier. I think finding mutual interests is pretty important in a relationship, getting your juice from the same place. And I think it's important to have your own personal interests too. So some people, and I'm sure you know them, don't seem to have any juice at all. No excitement, no motivation. I've said for a long time that I don't think people get excited enough about stuff. I think there's a lot of different reasons for that. I think some people think that getting excited about something is a sign of immaturity or I don't know what exactly, but it's not manly to get excited about things. It's not cool to get excited about things. I don't think people get excited enough. You know, and maybe somebody just hasn't found their juice, hasn't found that thing that gets them excited, gets them up in the morning. Sometimes you have to look for it. Sometimes you know it immediately when you see it. That could be the problem with some of the younger folks these days. You know, us oldsters tend to look at the youngsters and say they're not motivated, or they're lackadaisical, or whatever word you want to put on it. Maybe they just haven't found their juice yet. And I think for some people, a little juice goes a long way. Some people need a lot of juice. And as I'm getting older, my my levels of requirements for juice are changing. Certainly, my juices are becoming less juicy. I don't know. Morning coffee on the porch provides me a certain amount of juice. So does reading a good book in front of the fireplace at night. You know, juice doesn't have to be physically demanding. It certainly can be. In a lot of cases it is, but it doesn't have to be. You know, the adventures aren't over for me by any means. I've always had kind of a sense of adventure, and I haven't lost that. I still have a sense of adventure. My level of activity is decreasing as I get older, naturally. True for most people, if not everyone, I don't know. But I've never been one to go on vacation and lay on the beach all day or sit in a bar all day. I want to be doing something. That's just the way I've been. I get my juice from adventure and excitement, that kind of thing. You know, but that's toned down as I'm getting older. Lately, the last couple of weeks, Kathy and I have been looking at teardrop campers, the little teardrop shaped travel trailer things. They're mostly for sleeping. You know, they might have a little kitchen in the back, but they're not all self-contained. You know, we're still looking at that rustic aspect of camping, even though it's like one step above a tent. Put it that way. That's what appeals to us. I don't have any desire to pull a big trailer around anywhere, and we still have the motorcycles, and we're not giving up on the motorcycles yet. But we're talking about this teardrop camper for the future. I mean, sometimes when we don't want to take the bikes or we can't take the bikes anymore, a little travel trailer will give us our juice. So, like I said, Nick might not have found his juice in Murphy or run out of it, whatever the case may be, but he's still out there chasing it. Got to admire that. And I'll miss seeing him on the road, you know, but I'll be thinking about him pretty frequently, living in Spain on his adventure. So again, what's your juice? What gets you going? Are you getting enough of it? Do you need more? Leave it down in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. You know me in the comments. And while you're doing that, of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and come back next week, next Sunday. Happy to have you here, and thanks for coming in this time. Peace and joy, and stay juicy.